Hello again, this is PC Delta Link, back with more of our Enigmatica 2 Let's Play in Normal Mode. And this is episode 90. Okay, I had said that we were going to do some cosmetic work on our Embers area, and we have, so before we show you that, we're going to go back through the old area one more time. And we'll start with, sure, let's do the drill room first. Or the Ember Bore, I should say. We'll do that one first. Go away. And there's really not much to say in most of these rooms. This is just kind of to show you guys the before and after shots. But, yeah, most of these, well, all these rooms really were very bare bones, very, there we go. People interfering with us. Get out of here. Okay. Very bare bones, just the bare minimum to be done to get a functional room set up for these things. Very, very quickly done, that kind of stuff. Yeah, here's our pressure refinery room. Our Camonite water tanks and whatnot. Yeah, it's functional, but it doesn't look great. This one we've got a lot of the stuff from, oh gosh, I can't think of the words, Astral Sorcery, and the Cave Illuminator doing some work in here as well, even. So just very basic stuff, and just not a whole lot to see. So, with that being the case, I give you guys the new Embers look. Okay, as you can see, quite a lot has changed down here, and this place is definitely much more themed after the Embers mod now. We'll start with discussing the hallway here. So, I wanted to go with some shorter pillars here, for sure, and I wanted to find a way to use a lot of the unique blocks to Embers as I could. So, you know, we have our archaic lights that have taken over all the light sources. There are no torches down here anymore. All the light is from the archaic lights that are everywhere. I wanted to use the archaic edge because I like the texture connection on it. And then I found these in the Embers mod. These are reinforced sealed planks and just sealed planks. And I like the look they give. It reminds me of, like, supports in a mine. So, yeah, it gives kind of a the reinforced one, obviously, but yeah, it gives kind of a sturdier look to it, in my opinion. So I didn't use these everywhere, but they are in what I would consider, like, structurally important points, like corners, parts of the wall, that kind of thing. The stairs are actually, well, a lot of the stuff in here, I remembered, like, shortly after I started this project, it's like, oh yeah, I have painting machines upstairs, so I can use cobblestone stuff for a lot of this. So that's why a lot of this is painted stone. Like painted stone stairs, and then we have like painted cobblestone, all that stuff. So a lot of that's going to be painted. But for the other blocks, we end up using arcane tiles. The arcane stone from Thaumcraft. Actually, whoops, if I can spell correctly. I actually really liked the arcane stone. The color on it was just right. The Embers mod has the ashen blocks right here, but I actually did not like them compared to the arcane. I felt like they were too dark. So the arcane, like here we have arcane brick slabs. The slabs, the tiles, the stairs, all that is colored with arcane stone, and I just really like how this turned out. It turned out a lot better than I thought it would. And, yeah, just surprising how good that looks. There is one thing I would change in this hallway, but I won't be able to do it legitimately yet. So, like, you know, we have our archaic bricks here and whatnot. And I actually had, oh gosh, I've got to figure out a way to stop slimes from spawning down here. It's getting really annoying. There we go. I found a block I like better than these archaic bricks here, but I can't legitimately get it, so I spawned a couple in so I can show you guys. It's actually from Blood Magic, which we haven't gotten into yet, obviously, but these are Vengeful Stone tiles, And it's made with a bunch of stuff we don't have yet, and I'm not even sure how to get some of it. But let me show you. I just love how this stuff looks by comparison. And it went with the tile look that we have everywhere else, you know, arcane tiles, and the stairs are like tiles, but yeah, I really like that. And even though it's not the same color, like if you put these side by side here, it's not the same color at all. And yet when it's sunken back like that, somehow it does blend in really well with the archaic lights, and I'm not quite sure why that is. Because again, side by side, they don't really match. But just somehow, when it's back behind it, it looks great. And I really wish I could have used that. But yeah, I did not legitimately have access to these Vengeful Stone tiles. So we can't use them, unfortunately. But as soon as I do get the ability to get those Vengeful Stone tiles, we will be replacing in the main hallway here. Not really any of the other rooms, but in the little hallway here. All these little archaic bricks will be replaced with those Vengeful Stone tiles. But in the meantime, since, like I just said, I did cheat these in, let me... And now that I've shown you guys what they look like, let me get rid of them. Okay, very good. Okay, let's see, what should we move on to first? Let's go to the drill room first. So I tried to have a slightly different look for every room, and yet kind of following the same theme. The main hallway's the same for all 4 directions, of course. But then the, oh, that's not right. Whoops, I'll have to fix that later. And, whoops. But anyway, the, yeah, this little, like, sort of a elongated Y shape. I had this on all 4 sides of the hallway, and this is just because of the nature of how this hallway turned out. You see the same designs right here. The reason I end up going with this design is because of the way that the end of the hallway here works. So you have the archaic bricks here, you know, on the other side of this, and that's the same block as this. So if I change this, it would reflect here and vice versa. So I had to come up with a design that allowed me to kind of use the same block on both sides, and that was the one I came up with first that seemed to work pretty well. And I kind of liked it. So yeah, all 4, well, technically it's 8 walls, but all 4 rooms have this same pattern on the wall just outside the hallway. After that, we changed it up. In here we went with Archaic Edge up top with Arcane Tile and then bricks. And then, of course, our Archaic Lights and more Arcane Stone tiles. Arcane and Archaic. Gotta make sure I get those right. More of our sealed planks for, you know, reinforcements around the edge. Just our painted stone arcane stairs. The dome was a little hard, the ceiling being a little recessed here. Let me get a little bit closer to that. We decided to go with, you know, archaic edge in the corners, just because you could just barely see the little textures on the side, and I think that works on giving a little bit more, like, color to it. Surprisingly, let me pull up Embers. There's really not as much here for cosmetic as I thought there would be when I was going through it. And you have our archaic stuff, of course. We already talked about why I don't like the Ashen and why I went with Arcane instead. And the one thing that did surprise me big time is, you know, you have our archaic bricks here that we had to make a lot of, but there's no stairs. And that really surprised me. If we use our bricks on anything, we can get the tiles, but that's it. And tiles convert back into bricks. So yeah, to my great surprise, there is no archaic stairs. And no real equivalent to them either. I looked through a lot of the stairs, and I just didn't find any that looked good. And that is why our stairs are all the arcane stone, because I really didn't have any other choices that I liked. Yeah, I decided to go with just kind of our archaic tiles highlighting the room, kind of going around the edge of the room, and that goes for the ceiling as well. That just goes around the entire circumference of the room. Got some slabs in the ceiling here. And, yeah, got our ember crystals and shards that we have available right now. There's quite a few of them in here, actually. And yeah, so this is the Ember Boar room. We kept the glass so that we could still see the wheels turning if we need to. And it doesn't look perfect, but it looks okay. And then for the floor, we went with arcane bricks for the pattern. So this is one of those from the chisel mod, of course. It's one of these. Not wide bricks. Small bricks, yeah, there we go. Arcane stone small bricks. So yeah, I went with that for the floor in here, and that'll end up coming up again later in one of the walls. So let's move on to the next room, and we'll do this room next. So this, of course, is our room that we were using to get Dawnstone, which, well, there's other things in here as well, one of our things that we disassembled out there and whatnot. But, yeah, so we did slightly different on the pattern here. You can see the same wall pattern again. I'm going to, you know, I'm not going to be able to ignore that sound effect because it is a little overpowering. Oh my gosh. I will never need slime balls again. So yeah, we kind of put the archaic edge in a different spot, kind of just highlighting around the room. This design with the sealed planks with the archaic light in the top, this was actually the first design I'd come up with for the pillars in all the rooms, but I decided not to go with it because I ultimately liked this better with just the reinforcements at the top and bottom and just sealed planks in the middle. But I wanted to save that design and use it somewhere. So that's why we ended up using that in here. For our stamper in the middle, we kind of did an inverted pyramid above it and used, you know, a Camonite brick to match the texture on the stamper itself to kind of just have it protruding from the ceiling better. It was kind of an interesting challenge getting the other parts of the ceiling done at all. When you have stuff like this that's not symmetrical, it doesn't really go with the rest of the room, and it just didn't feel quite right to do it other ways. So yeah, to come up with designs for the rest of the ceiling was kind of interesting. And these are just, you know, slight domes with, you know, half slabs and whatnot. And the floor was kind of the same way. We just kind of had to change it up on the floor. Like in this room, you know, we'd said we had the archaic tile as kind of a highlight around the room. This time we did a little bit extra with like the archaic lights in the floor, in the corners, and in the middle to kind of make the tile bend around and give it slightly better look. Here we have the arcane small bricks for the floor texture, with some lights interspersed here and there as well. Honestly, the floor was kind of the hardest part to do in most rooms, because again, I didn't really have a plan for the floor, and sometimes, like right here, the machines go into the floor, so it makes it a little difficult to mess around with the floor too much. And then, to top it off, these rooms were not as symmetrical as they could have been as well. So what I mean is, one of the problems I had when I was designing the ceiling, especially, not as much the floor, but the ceiling, is the rooms are, I believe, they're 17 by 15 for the length and width, and unfortunately that means you can't get like a perfect dome or something, not without having an obvious extra layer on one side. So that's why none of these rooms had that. Otherwise I probably would have done that in most of the rooms. But yeah, that ended up not being available, so we couldn't do that. Alright, let's move on to the next room. Here we have our pressure refinery room. Same pattern there, of course. The ceiling was kind of strange in here. I really didn't know what to do. And so we just kind of had this basic pattern here above the pressure refiners, and then down here we kind of changed it up a little bit and had, you know, some angled bits and kind of a bigger piece right here and another angled one. So I kind of like that bit. One thing that was surprisingly difficult is Camonite brick. There's not a lot of options for creativity with this block, and to my, like, kind of surprise, it really doesn't go with a lot of stuff. I really wasn't sure how to make this work at all, and I'm still not 100% sure it did work okay. But I ended up putting it here and there around the room, kind of just to represent the Camonite water tanks we've got here. Put a little bit in the ceiling too to make the tank seem bigger than it was, and even the wall behind it for the same reason. But, and then I end up trying to design it to where there's a couple on the floor, not a whole lot, because again, when there's too much of them, I really don't think they look good at all. Yeah, I was really surprised when I was going through this how I would like try different stuff with the cabinet, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks so ugly. I'd have to do something completely different. But I think it turned out okay. I think it has enough camonite to give a little bit of accent and still represent the camonite without like being overpowering in the room. There's still a great majority of just the regular blocks that we've already been using. So yeah, overall I like this. I tried to experiment with some more camonite in this section, you know how we have it in the previous two, but it didn't look good, and I decided to leave it, and just kind of leave it with just these two, well, 4 sections of floor having the camonite in them. So, alright, let's move on to the final room, actually. And kill a slime on the way over there. Oh, he's not over here. Well, I don't know where he is, then. Oh, it's over here. Alright, our final room, our kind of our alchemy room that it turned into. We did a different pattern again. We decided to do double archaic edge this time with arcane small bricks in the middle with the light. And the ceiling in here ended up being really plain, but I decided I was okay with that. So we just had it as arcane tile with some lights interspersed here and there. And then we had another small inverted pyramid for the beam cannon, with a camonite brick above it, again, to make the texture seem more connected and that it was actually fused into the ceiling. So I do like this. We made like a small area for our alchemy pedestals. We'll end up having, you know, 3 more around the edges, 1, 2, and 3. So all 4 will be there. I didn't end up using as much of the ritual to create archaic bricks as I thought, since, as I'd said, we remembered we had painting machines. The floor here is kind of strange, because with this area for the alchemy pedestal, we really couldn't do anything. And so we kind of just did a little design. We did another highlight around the edge with the archaic tiles and the lights. But then we kind of did this little design in the middle, where we just kind of went out and back in and split these sections up a little bit. I put sealed planks below the copper cells to where it makes it to where they're not just floating and they're not sitting on a piece of cobblestone, to where it looks slightly better. The floor in here is a little bit different, and that's because it's ashen brick. So this is the only area we have any of the ashen materials from the mod in here. So we do have some ashen brick installed. We had plenty of ashes to make them. And you can kind of see now at a glance the darkness of this color compared to the arcane, and why I kind of didn't like it. I think it would have been too dark if I had the ashen style for all this stuff. Plus, the ashen bricks don't have the flexibility and the amount of like texture variations that the arcane stuff does. So that's ultimately why they weren't used. But I wanted to use some ashen pieces somewhere, just because it's part of the mod. So yeah, that's about it, really. We'll definitely keep working on this and finessing this, but I do have some more things to show you guys. We aren't going to get much done this episode progress-wise, just because of going through this, but that's okay. But it's kind of nice that, you know, before we do a cosmetic change, and it would sometimes be after we were done with the mod, so we'd have this cosmetic look, it's like, oh cool, and now we'll never get to see it, because I'm never over in that room. So this time we have one done beforehand, and you guys get to enjoy it as we go through the rest of the mod. We don't have too many more episodes left in Embers, maybe 2 or 3 at the most. I don't even think that many. Probably 2. But, yeah. I really enjoyed this project. It took me a while to come up with any of the designs for this, because, like I said, when I started going through this, I realized that I had actually chosen a pretty hard cosmetic thing to do, because my choices were limited in the blocks. The archaic blocks especially were very limited on the amount of textures and options I had. Like I said, they don't even have stairs. So, yeah, it took me a lot longer than I thought it would to come up with designs. I didn't start really putting any of this together in any, like, okay, this is what it's going to be, final form, until probably 3 or 4 days ago. So, yeah, probably 3 days ago. It took a while. But I like how it turned out. I think it went pretty well, and I'll meet you guys as we move on to the next thing I had to show you. You also might recall I'd said I was going to work on another side project if I got far enough, and using the extra days off that I had from this, where I took a week for this episode instead of our 5 days that I'm normally doing right now. And that's because I did some work on the entrance here, a little bit of work, and then most importantly is I finally did some work on this thing, this abomination of a bridge that's just a piece of cobblestone across the chasm here. But yeah, we did some work on this. It looks a lot better. We're in the middle of kind of revamping the entrance area to my base, mainly for anyone who downloads the world, that they'll have an easier time getting here, and probably a better time at that. So that's a bigger long-term project because the world spawn is somewhere... It's like right around here, somewhere right in this area I'm looking, I think. So you do have a decent walk to get to the base from where you spawn in for the world save. But it's not too bad. But yeah, I'm working on getting a proper road built all the way out there and whatnot, but that's just going to take some time. But I did start with the bridge, so I will get to show you guys the changes we made on that. Okay, as you can see here, we changed up the entrance just a little bit. We extended our painted cobblestone walkway out here, also changing what the pressure plates were colored with, to where now it matches it and it just goes completely down here. So we changed up the stairs slightly with the same texture here on the stairs. I don't think it quite works, but I kind of just wanted to keep the same texture, so it is what it is. And this was using framed stairs, which we haven't really gotten into before, but I'll show you the recipe for those in just a minute. So, changed up some of the textures out here. We got away from the emerald color and moved more toward the sapphire color that was in the rest of the base. And finally, we have a bridge, a proper bridge here, which is the exact same texture as the other bridge, exact same layout as the one over on the other side. So we decided to build off the little pillar that was down here that kind of naturally stuck out into the river here, and just kind of decided to build off that, and I think it turned out pretty well. So yeah, we have the same little archways with the marble bricks and the glowstone in here occasionally. Exact same pattern all around. It was a little hard to figure out how to make this part look okay, where it kind of blends in with the rest of the mountain, and where I wanted this to stop and the natural terrain to start, because I didn't want to override it too much. That's why, like right here, these aren't destroying the natural terrain. It just is built off of it as best I could. But I do like how it turned out. I considered having this like be a step or two above, but I decided, just for the sake of keeping it simple, to just have it be level with the rest of the terrain here. So this is the beginning of what will eventually be a road that goes all the way to this world spawn, the one way in the distance right over there. So that's going to be something that we get later on. Hello, sir. How are you doing? You come to see the new bridge as well? How nice of you. But yeah, for now, you can see it's kind of not 100% done, but it's as done as I'm going to have it for this part anyway, because I've got to decide how I want to continue this after this. But at least we do have a proper bridge here finally, which this has been needed for quite a while, honestly. We were way overdue for that. So yeah, it's kind of nice to have something matching this, and eventually we'll end up fixing this bridge as well, and end up replacing this. I don't remember if I went over this yet, but you can see we also cleared out the meteor here. We took it down to the ground level. So this is going to be where one of our upcoming semi-mega projects is going to be going, is right in this area. We're going to have to The crater itself still has to be fixed on all this jagged crap from just the way meteor impact sites are very ugly on the terrain. I've got a lot of work to do to fix this. It's going to take a long time, but yeah, eventually it will be fixed. Alright, but that's about all I had to show you on this for the moment, so let me check on oh, yes, before I do that, I kind of have here some of the blocks that we used for, and we've already gone over some of these recipes for like the archaic light and stuff, but like the sealed planks, let me show you this, because these aren't too expensive at all, really. They're pretty cheap. So to get the sealed planks, it's just 8 planks of anything around a slime ball of some kind, which, as you can guess from all the slime we've picked up downstairs, we had all the slime in the world I could ever want. So sealed planks were not hard to get at all. And the reinforced sealed planks are also super cheap. It's just iron bars and a sealed plank to get one. So also very cheap, also very easy to get, considering I really didn't need a whole lot of them. The framed stairs that I said I was going to show you guys. Frame blocks, I don't remember if we've really used these much. I don't think we have. But they're from Block Craftery, and they're basically used for cosmetic work, as you can take them and create any... You can, like, apply any texture to them. So, like, let me get to our little system over here. And they're pretty cheap to make, so just the regular framed blocks are just 4 sticks. Any sticks. Well, assuming you have sticks, they're pretty cheap. Let me do this. There we go. Okay. So let me get a few of these. And let's get one more set of these stairs so I can kind of show this off. Okay, so let me place this down. Let me go ahead and place a regular frame down as well. So these can take basically any texture, just like this, and they can look like that block, and then I believe you can just shift right click, yeah, to get the block back. So that's a way you could have used different blocks to get textures that you normally couldn't, like archaic light stairs. Unfortunately, they don't have the same, of course, illuminating properties, and they don't have the same glowing texture. That's why we didn't really do stuff like that. I didn't think about this till later on, but I could have used this for, for archaic stone stairs. But by the time I'd kind of come up with this, I'd already had a lot of the, I had the arcane stairs from painting everything. And by the time I got to this point, I kind of already had everything that I was going to use at that point set up. And I didn't quite like these compared to the tile stairs. And of course I don't have that same tile pattern that like the rest of these have, so it's not the same pattern even if you do put the brick on there. So either way, I didn't quite like it, and the other, just the basic archaic tile, it's not the same. It's very plain. It doesn't have any lines on or anything. So it's fine for what it is, but it's not great for stairs. I don't think the archaic edge would have really done much either. No, yeah, I looked at that and it like cuts the dots here in half. So I really didn't like that either for our choices available. But still, that's the bulk of pretty much everything we used for this overhaul. So overall, I'm still really happy with how this turned out. Give me a axe. There we go. Yeah, I do like how this turned out. I think it looked great. And as I said, we really aren't going to get anything else done this episode. We've only got a couple minutes left anyway. But yeah, I hope you guys really like it. I spent quite a lot of time on it. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled uploading this week. So 5 days for the next episode instead of 7. And next episode, we are going to continue on getting some of the higher machines on this. And that'll end up being set up in a new room, and I might end up altering these slightly. But, yeah, overall, I really like this so far. So we'll probably end up building down for our next section again. Not sure where I'm going to put the entrance to that, but we'll figure that out as we go. So in the meantime, though, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you guys next time.